Everybody in that wants to get in, good morning, everyone. Good to see you here today. I asked you to come together because I've been getting a number of questions on the status of the employee freedom right to work legislation here in the Senate. And so rather than answering it piecemeal, I thought it made some sense to get everybody in the room at the same time and talk a little bit about it. Some folks had asked me to come up in an article or two whether I was going to try to bring the legislation straight to the floor through a rule that allows us to do that. After we got the Judiciary Committee hearing and the favorable vote out of there, I decided I would prefer not to do it that way. And so for those of you who are geeks and follow the rules, in order to do it with a simple majority, I would have had to do it by last Friday, and I chose not to do that. So right now, the status is it has been passed out of Judiciary, referred to the Rules Committee. And what I'm hoping for is that we get the bill vetted in the Rules Committee and sent to the floor. And that's where we're at right now. There will be no hearing on the floor bringing it out of committee because that deadline is passed. Senator Hann wanted to make a few comments as well, and then we'll be happy to take some questions.
Sure. Senator Thompson has done a great job, I think, in making sure that this bill is followed the process that we have in the legislature. I certainly respect his decision not to try to circumvent the process by bringing something out on the floor. We usually go through a process with these things, and the Rules Committee is the part of the process. So that's where that bill is. And we believe that this is an idea, a bill that is widely supported by people across the state, across all demographics. And we believe that people want and deserve to have a hearing and a vote on this bill. We think it's very important. We think that it is broadly supported. We think it is a way that will change the business climate for the better in the state of Minnesota, very important as we look to the future. And we think that it deserves a vote. As it stands right now, our leadership certainly has control of the things going on in the session, in our caucus. It is in the Rules Committee, and it is within their jurisdiction to move the bill out. And I certainly encourage our committee, our Rules Committee, to vote it out, bring it to the floor, and allow the legislators to vote on this bill, because we believe that the public deserves and wants to see an up or down vote on this important issue. And we're going to work very hard to continue to try to make sure that that can happen. And I don't know if there's anybody from the House who wants to make a comment about the status in the House.
We're similarly continuing to have discussions in the House about the bill. There is a great amount of interest. We haven't reached a conclusion about whether we're going to bring it forward yet from where it's at. It's in the Commerce Committee in the House. Certainly, we have the ability to do that through the normal committee process, regardless of the deadline, if that's a decision that our caucus comes to. As I mentioned, there's a great amount of support and excitement about this proposal. But at this time, we're still in the middle of process and figuring out exactly which proposals we're going to bring forward and when.
Do you have the votes in your caucus to pass it on the floor?
Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to bring it to the floor. And we've talked to lots of folks in our caucus. I don't know of anyone who opposes it on the idea on the merits of what the bill intends to do. And I think the fair thing, the right thing is to bring it to a vote and let people decide I guess in the only way that you can really know what people's view is on an issue like this is to bring it to the floor for a vote.
Senator, if you don't have the votes, wouldn't it be better to caucus it in private than have it fail on the floor?
Well, we have talked about this somewhat in caucus. I don't know that we have reached a final assessment on that, but I think there would continue to be some discussion. But I think at some point, with the time running out of the hourglass in the session, I think it's important that we try to move it along and bring it to a vote. I think the issue is very simple. It's very clear. It really is, do we believe that people ought to be free to join or not join a union as they see fit, or whether we ought to continue to compel people by law? And that's really what the issue is. Very simple, very straightforward, widely supported, and we think it deserves a vote.
Your leader stood here last week, though, and said there wasn't the votes. Who's right?
Well, everybody counts votes, I guess. Everybody counts them differently, and in my experience, there's only one way to find out where the votes are, and that's to bring it to the floor.
Has Senator Senchum or Speaker Zellers committed to either caucus that they're going to actually move this bill out of the Rules Committees?
No, Tom, I've received no commitment. Don't know exactly what the intent is. No is the answer.
Have you, just to follow up, sir, have you asked him?
Yes, I specifically said I would like to have a Rules Committee hearing, and I would like to see the bill voted on the floor. I think it's a big enough issue. It's an issue that is consistent with what is in our platform, admittedly not in the form of a constitutional amendment, but it's a part of the platform. And as Senator Hann said, I'm in agreement with him. Needless to say, I've had numerous discussions with the vast majority of members. I have yet to have somebody tell me in my caucus that they don't think this is the right policy or that it is not the right thing as a matter of principle.
So is the fear, or some folks are expressing they're skeptical of this, even in their own caucus, is what if it's not policy, then what's driving it?
You know, Tom, I guess I don't like to get into what other people are thinking or what is in their head for their reasoning. I guess I'd prefer that you ask the individual members. I don't think it's fair for me to really represent their positions as to why they're not willing to do something. I would ask them.
Are you surprised that the bill is stalled in a Republican-controlled legislature on what you said is a pretty solid Republican issue?
Disappointed might be the word.
Would you characterize it as stalled?
Well, I don't know. It certainly is stalled if we don't get a Rules Committee hearing. Okay, anybody want to add anything? All right, thank you very much.